Hey everyone, Depressed here with Langrisser Mobile Apex again. Alright, so this box terrifies me because it's practically nothing but assassins. We got Zerida, freaking, was it Sigma, Joshua, Illustrial, um, Knight of Mystery, freaking D-Heart, and freaking Hiei over here. So a lot of people that can either do nasty AoE kind of assassination moves like Joshua, or people that just bypass guard completely, such as Zerida. And it kind of depends for Illustrial. It depends if she has her her unique item. I don't know if she does or not. Knight of Mystery is an issue also because she's a magic damage, and I do have since I use spears as my my tanks, I do have a little bit of resistance against Knight of Mystery, but my biggest weakness as far as tanks are concerned is I don't really have I can't guard against magic for one thing, and usually they're going to target my tank anyway. My tanks are not particularly magic resistant, so it wasn't entirely a rushdown box here. I mean, they still have kind of the standard tank setup, and looks like 3 healers, so it's a bit messy though. So let's go ahead and dive into this. They banned my Listel first. I went ahead and went straight for Zerida. Grabbed Listel as my usual tank. They of course start banning my usual DPS. They went with Landius. Now what actually threw me off is I was expecting him Cavalry Landius, but this one's actually Spear. So this one's all about just moving slowly and just tanking. Luckily they left me with my Claret, so I was going to use my Claret to kind of counter all this ranged assassination that's going to come my way. Also immediately banned their Tiaras to force them to pick a healer for their second pick. Mainly just to buy myself a little bit of time. Landius had a faction buff, so I went ahead and banned Rachel. But for the most part, there were just so many dangerous targets in this that I was not exactly sure what I wanted to go for. But I went with Listel and Hiei. Hiei has been giving me a lot of trouble, and I didn't want to deal with anti-heal. So, trying to get my mages out. I actually been resisting the urge to grab my healer. I usually grab TRs after I grab Claret just to ensure that I have attack command, but this time I went ahead and grabbed a mage that I wanted to kind of go from there. At this point, my box is everyone is 6 stars except for young Jessica, who's 5 stars. So finally kind of caught up on that. Takes about like 90 days to get something from 3 stars to 6 stars, give or take a couple of days. Anyway, they went with D-Heart. D-Heart's a problem, because D-Heart can bypass guard and he can strike, which gives him an additional 3 movement. It's just, there's not much I can do about D-Heart besides just tank things. I like the concept of assassins, like being able to get around guards, because obviously everyone goes with Landius and Juggler, but there's not much you can do about something that can bypass guard besides just being tankier or just being able to outposition and outmaneuver your opponent. But in the case of D-Heart, he can move an extra 3 spaces, so he can just do whatever he wants. So here's our opponents. They have 2 tanks. They went with Weiler for the healer. I think this is Weiler's 3-cost skill, which is actually really kind of annoying. What it does is he sacrifices 99% of his health and makes it so everyone gets 15% increased damage and reduced damage for 3 turns. Also automatically triggers the Desperate Prayer effect, which makes it so that before fighting the person that's been buffed, it's essentially a heal, essentially. So I've actually seen this in some of the the China PvP stuff where they just open with this, and it's kind of hard to deal with. It's kind of like, it's essentially Miracle on steroids, essentially. But yeah, here's our issues. I mean, there's only 2 characters that I was really kind of concerned about. It was obviously Knight of Mystery and D-Heart. D-Heart I can't really do much about. He has Strike, he can move an additional 3, he has Calamity, which means he bypasses guard. So one way or the other, it's going to strike something. And Knight of Mystery is a similar issue where she doesn't have a way of bypassing guard, but I don't have a way of guarding against magic, and Knight of Mystery is magic based. and I'm not even sure Estelle can even survive a hit from Night of Mystery. It's not great. Also, let's go ahead and turn on animations before I forget. There we go. Standard setup with Juggler here. So, there's that. I went ahead and just kind of slowly push my way forward. At this point I was like, one way or the other, D-Heart's going to probably get in range and kind of wreck me. I wasn't too worried about Night of Mystery against Chloe since I had Phalanx. And actually somewhat decent magic defense, but like I said, I wasn't really entirely sure what I was going to do here. Chloe is going Starglow for her stuff here. Not really for the AoE damage, but for the dispels, because I just really need the dispel buffs when I can. And then Lana's of course a standard Dark Reaper, Cleanse, Black Hole setup. Obviously, I don't think everything else is pretty standard stuff for PvP. So moved in, did Phoenix Wave, mainly just for the buff. I knew my AoE was going to get negated by Juggler, there's not much I can do about that. Okay, because Landius is going to go ahead and push forward with the double tank setup. Go ahead and tag them with Starglow, just to see what buffs I can get rid of. Had tons of buffs, so I didn't expect anything too special. I did get rid of his attack buff, but Strike does give an attack buff, so it didn't really matter. I'm going to go ahead and move in and just wreck my Alana. Lion's Roar actually didn't work because I think I was immune to stun. Which was probably just a random thing I got from Chloe. So we traded DPS. Juggler does have V-Shock. So time for my tank to be tested against Broken Spear. Barely survived it. Not much I could do about it. I went ahead and moved in. I had clocked my Phoenix Wave, so I went ahead and did another one. This one actually took a good chunk out of Night of Mystery. Alright, buffs are up. So, went ahead and went defense here, went and got Aurora Ring up and running. Yep, Thunder Zone. So I ended up healing Claret. I think I should have healed... Yeah, I think I should have healed Estelle instead. But here comes V-Shock. Enough to finish me off. Part of the reason why I was very, very defensive was, remember there was that buff that Weiler put up. I had to wait until I pretty much had to wait until that buff wore off before I could actually start attacking. Because if I attacked while that buff was active, they would have recovered a bunch of hit points every time I attacked. So some of these people still have it. Some people have Desperate Prayer. It lasts 3 rounds, so it's really hard to deal with. But right now, the only one person that still has it up is Landius, and he was kind of my last target anyway. I looped around to attack Juggler, and I forgot about his V-Shock, so I kind of ended up being out of position a little bit. Not that it matters, there's no tanks I have at this point. And then Landius goes ahead and shows off how brutal he is even as a spear. So, went ahead and moved up. Went ahead and got first kill on Landius. He has Cells Res, of course. I do regroup to heal. Thankfully it doesn't give him any extra turns or anything. At this point I'm outnumbered. I do have Healing Light active, but since PRS is dead, the Healing Light is actually less effective, because when the unit is dead, they kind of just go with base end or something like that. Yeah. If Euler hadn't attacked, I might have been able to do something. But I went and, at this point it was game over. I had one round left with healing lights, and didn't quite get the kill, unfortunately. I gave up at this point because there's no point. And yeah, so first match was a loss. We'll see how the next one does. Alright, so you might recognize this name. This was a person we fought last week. Now, as far as like what time I played this week compared to last week, it was actually a different time that I actually fought last week. Or this week, between the 2 weeks, I played on different time frames. So it was pure luck that I actually ran into Ohm again. We kind of already know his kit. I don't think it's changed. I think it's pretty it's kind of a weird mix of everything. Still uses Ledin as a tank. I didn't know it was Ohm until the match actually officially started, so went ahead and went straight for Zerida first because I didn't want to deal with assassins, especially after the last match. And he opens with Ledin, and I'm like, okay, whatever. This person was very confident about their Ledin. Went ahead and banned 2 of their healers to force them to pick a healer. They only had 3 healers, so they would have to pick Chloe as their healer, unless they had some weird gimmick build involving using Chris as a healer. Standard tank as usual. They of course always ban my Rachel and Young Jessica. Young Jessica is usually not that top tier in PvP, or at least not in the China servers, so I'm a little shocked that people just keep banning my Young Jessica. I guess maybe in the lower branches, people have been using Young Jessica to snipe. I can't say because I've only been able to use Young Jessica once, and she killed herself on Thorns, so no idea. Chloe is their healer pick, no surprise. Went ahead and took care of Bernhardt and their Yulia. Grabbed my Claret. I really like having Claret even if it's not the best pick, because it just gives me coverage. I like having the extra mobility advantage. I also don't see Altamuller too much, so there's Altamuller. Went ahead and took care of there's Shafaniel for the AoE. I also went ahead and took care of Shafaniel for the buff and AoE. I took out Luna because she could actually be buffed by Altamuller. Went ahead and grabbed my Yulia, because I don't usually get to use her too often, and she's actually rather good. And I'm a bit better at using Yulia than Zerida, so it's usually who I'll pick first. Bozel, at this point I'm not really threatened by him. Grabbed my Lana. At this point I didn't actually pick a healer until my last pick. Just so I can ensure that I have a mage pick I wanted. So I ended up going with Chloe as my healer, and they of course went with Elwyn as their final pick. This is a sword Elwyn, so it's not something I run into too often. Standard setup let in. Chloe is using full heal setup. I'm also using full heal setup on my end, because I only have one healer. And that's a 6-star Chloe. Standard Ultimuller here, Dragon Breath, Gale, Raging Thunder. No faction buff. But he has he'll be buffed by Buzzle here, so Dark Waltz, Sleep, and Black Hole. Just like kind of the last time we fought him, biggest threat was probably Buzzle with the magic damage. Elwyn could be kind of dangerous, but I have a lot of things that are just good against Elwyn at this point, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Stopped in place to get my coverage. Ohm was kind of took it very defensively, especially with Ledin, so kind of took a slow route around the outside instead of going through the middle. I went ahead and went through the middle. Of course, I have to pretty much get in range so I can get my guard up, because I have to do damage with Estelle to get the guard up. But I'm completely fine with that. Boza went into just in range, so I went ahead and put up Phoenix Wave. But like before, just for the buff. Also, any damage I do to Bozel shuts down the sorceresses a bit. So now that I have 2 guard range, I have a bit of flexibility on my positioning. The main thing I was concerned about was the Dark Hole. And of course Elwyn, who has 4 movement. Dragon's Breath was going to be annoying. Actually does really good damage. I actually took a moment to kind of calculate my HP, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to heal just in case that dark hole comes. If the dark hole, it's not really the stats that I'm worried about, it's the damage. And I wanted Yulia to be at full strength. But I went ahead and rushed in with Lana to go ahead and draw out Elwyn, also to kind of apply some debuffs. Sword Soul, easy kill. This is going to heal Elwyn back to full. But this also puts him out of position, so I can go ahead and kill with Yulia. Yulia's Cav with magic damage. So just, yeah, completely obliterates him. So no more Tank Buster. Also, I went ahead and removed a bunch of buffs off the Ultimula thanks to that. Did some extra damage, and then moved in position so I can guard Yulia from physical damage. Sleep got hit. It's going to shut down Yulia for a bit. She still has enough hit points for a self-res, so I'm pretty safe there. Ultimueller's down HP, so he doesn't have last rights, and just use this as an opportunity to go ahead and finish off Ultimueller. So at this point I kind of have the advantage. The only thing that can really get any kills off is Bozel. The only thing that's slowing me down is the fact that my Yulia has been shut down. I went ahead and moved into the Aurora Ring. This was actually a bit early because for some reason I thought he had used all of his spells, but he only used Sleep, he didn't use Black Hole yet, so it's going to put me in a situation where I'm going to get hit with Black Hole. But since Estelle is completely immune to debuffs, I can at least keep the guard up to keep Yulia safe. And Yulia is going to get healed once she gets her auto turn. And I went ahead and move Claret away just to be safe. With the Aurora Ring, do all the healing. Alright, so this is going to be a little bit slow here because I have to get through that tank. And Ledin is tanky, just doesn't really have much else going for him. This time I don't have attack command to get a bunch of attack blessing to actually, you know, wipe him out in a single strike. Almost killed him, but not quite. And then Hard Rock enchant procs now. Anyway, not really in danger of being killed by Bozel. Self-res would have taken care of it if necessary. I went ahead and attacked with Estelle, hoping I could finish off Ledin, but Ledin's just super tanky. It didn't happen. But it did keep my buff up, so I wasn't too concerned. Then he went and moved in and attacked my Chloe. Yep, did some damage, and this will heal him. So this was just, he was very persistent to say the least. But with Aurora Ring and my heals going, I wasn't in super danger. I went ahead and went after Bozel because he was a bigger threat than Ledin. But Bozel has super high M defense since that's where he gets his attack, his int from. So this ended up kind of dragging out the fight a little bit longer. Alright. At this time it's 4-on-2. Still didn't kill him. Of course it was spears against Cav, which kind of softened the blow a bit, but at this point he had no way of killing me. And I was just going to wear him away because I outnumbered him. So, there you go. There was my win for the week. Like I mentioned before, I'm kind of just floating around 1700. I don't have any interest in going much higher than that. By the time you guys see this video, I should have a 5-star Mystery Knight and a 4-star Reen, or Renee, because I haven't been building her at all. Since now I don't have to build Rachel anymore, I can finally work towards that. So yeah, I think that'll be it for right now. I am Prestivo, and this was Langrisser Mobile Apex Arena. See you guys later.